Imagine this. You see a stranger crying alone in an airport, completely broken. Do you walk away, or do you offer comfort to someone whose world just shattered? Sarah, a struggling waitress flying home after her mother's funeral, never imagined that one impulsive act of kindness would change her life forever. When she hugs a devastated man crying in the terminal, she has no idea he's Marcus Winthrop, a billionaire CEO who was just abandoned at the altar by the woman he thought loved him. Stay with me until the end. This story will break your heart and rebuild it. And if you believe one moment of compassion can change everything, hit like and subscribe, because this one's for you. The fluorescent lights of LaGuardia Airport flickered overhead like dying stars. Sarah Hayes sat in Terminal C, Gate 47, staring at the black dress she still wore. The fabric smelled faintly of lilies and regret. Her mother's funeral had ended 4 hours ago. The flight home to Chicago left in 30 minutes. She had $247 in her bank account. Rent was due in 6 days. Her phone buzzed, another text from her landlord. She didn't open it. Instead, she watched people, families embracing, business travelers scrolling through phones, a little girl eating an oversized pretzel, chocolate smeared across her cheek. Normal people, living normal lives. Sarah wondered when hers had stopped feeling normal. When had grief become her only companion? She stood, legs stiff from sitting, and walked toward the restroom. That's when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong in an airport. Sobbing. Raw, guttural sobbing. She slowed, following the sound to a corner near Gate 46, a small alcove with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the tarmac. Rain hammered against the glass. A man sat there, alone, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. He wore an expensive suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. His shoes were Italian leather, polished to a mirror shine. A garment bag lay crumpled beside him. Sarah should have kept walking. She had her own grief, her own problems, her own breaking point waiting just beneath the surface. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he cried, like someone who'd never learned how, like the sound was being ripped from somewhere deep and unfamiliar. Maybe it was because she recognized that kind of pain. She approached slowly. "Hey," she said softly. He didn't look up. "Are you okay?" Stupid question. Obviously, he wasn't okay. The man lifted his head slightly. His face was a wreck. Red eyes, tear-streaked cheeks, hair disheveled. He looked at her like she was a ghost. "I'm fine," he whispered. His voice cracked on the second word. Sarah sat down beside him, not too close, just there. "You don't look fine." He laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "No, I suppose I don't." Silence stretched between them. Outside, a plane taxied down the runway, its lights blinking through the rain. "Do you want to talk about it?" Sarah asked. "Not really." "Okay." She stayed anyway. Minutes passed. The man's breathing gradually steadied. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, then stared at his palm like he didn't recognize it. "She didn't come," he finally said. "What?" "My fiancée. She didn't come. To the wedding. Today. 2 hours ago." Each sentence came out fragmented, like he was still trying to believe it himself. Sarah's chest tightened. "I'm so sorry." 300 people, St. Patrick's Cathedral, my entire board of directors, the mayor. My mother flew in from Paris. He laughed again, darker this time, and she just sent a text, 20 minutes before the ceremony. "I can't do this, I'm sorry." Jesus. I left, got in a car, told the driver to take me anywhere, ended up here, bought a ticket to... I don't even know where, I just needed to leave. Sarah didn't know what to say. What could anyone say to that? So she did the only thing she could think of. She reached over and took his hand. He flinched, looked at her hand covering his like it was something alien, something he'd forgotten existed. "I don't know you," he whispered. "I know. You don't have to. I know that too." His fingers tightened around hers, just slightly, just enough. They sat there in silence, two strangers bound by nothing but shared pain and the relentless drum of rain against glass. After a long moment, Sarah spoke again. "My mom died 4 days ago." He turned to her, really seeing her for the first time. "I'm flying home from her funeral right now," she continued. "I've been sitting here for an hour thinking about how unfair everything is, how broken the world feels. And then I heard you crying and I thought..." She trailed off, unsure how to finish. "You thought what?" "I thought maybe we're all just looking for someone to tell us it's going to be okay, even if it's a lie." Something shifted in his expression. The rawness softened just slightly. "Is it going to be okay?" he asked. "I don't know. That's honest. It's all I have left." He studied her face, the tired eyes, the grief lingering in the corners of her mouth, the black dress that had seen too many sad occasions. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah. Sarah." He repeated it like he was testing the weight of it. "I'm Marcus. Hi, Marcus." "Hi, Sarah." A gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom. "Final boarding call for flight 1847 to Chicago." Sarah glanced at her phone. That was her flight. She started to stand, but Marcus's hand tightened around hers. "Don't go yet," he said quietly. "Please." She hesitated. The flight attendant was making the final call. If she missed this flight, the next one wasn't until tomorrow morning. She'd have to sleep in the airport. She couldn't afford a hotel, but something in his eyes held her. "Okay," she whispered, sinking back down. "Okay." The gate agent called her flight one more time, then closed the door. Sarah watched through the window as the plane pulled away from the gate, carrying all the passengers who'd made logical decisions, who hadn't stopped for a crying stranger, who were going home. Marcus was still holding her hand. "Thank you," he breathed. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the suit or just me." She squeezed his hand gently. Sometimes that's all anyone needs. To be seen. They sat together as the airport hummed around them, a pocket of stillness in the chaos. Two people who'd lost everything, finding something they didn't know they needed in the most unlikely place. Neither of them knew it yet, but that moment, that simple act of compassion, would become the axis around which both their lives would turn. Sometimes the most important decisions we make are the ones we don't think about at all. They stayed in that corner for another hour. Marcus told her things he'd never told anyone. How the wedding had been more about optics than love. How Victoria, his fiancée, had always seemed more interested in the Winthrop name than in him. How he'd ignored every red flag because admitting the truth felt like admitting failure. "My father built an empire," Marcus said, staring at his reflection in the rain-streaked window. "Winthrop Industries, 12 billion in assets, 40,000 employees across 6 continents. He died 3 years ago and left it all to me. The company, the legacy, the expectation that I'd be exactly like him." "And were you?" "I tried to be. Cold, calculating, efficient." He paused. alone. Sarah understood that kind of loneliness, the kind that exists even in crowded rooms. Victoria was perfect on paper, Marcus continued. Harvard Law. Her father runs a hedge fund. She knew which fork to use at state dinners. She looked beautiful in the society pages. His voice dropped. But she never asked me how I slept, never noticed when I was tired, never just sat with me like this. Maybe she didn't know how. Maybe I didn't let her. The airport was quieter now. Late-night flights, delayed connections, people sleeping on chairs, using rolled-up jackets as pillows. Sarah's stomach growled, a low, embarrassing sound. Marcus noticed. "When did you last eat?" "This morning, I think. Time's been weird." He stood, pulling her gently to her feet. "Come on." "Where are we going?" "To find food, and to get you a hotel room. You're not sleeping in an airport." Sarah pulled her hand back. "I can't let you do that." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you, because you just went through something terrible." Because you think accepting help makes you weak." His eyes were kinder now, less broken. "Sarah, you missed your flight for me, a complete stranger. Let me buy you dinner." She wanted to argue. Pride was sometimes the only thing that kept her standing. But she was exhausted and hungry, and so very tired of pretending she had it all together. "Okay," she whispered. "Dinner." They found a 24-hour diner 3 blocks from the airport, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt hope. The waitress looked half asleep. The menu was laminated and sticky. Marcus ordered eggs and toast. Sarah ordered the same, plus coffee. "Tell me about your mom," Marcus said after the waitress left. Sarah wrapped her hands around the water glass, needing something to hold. She was a teacher, 2nd grade. She made every kid feel like they were her favorite, even the difficult ones, especially the difficult ones. Sounds like she was good at seeing people. "Yeah." Sarah smiled sadly. "She saw me. Always. Even when I didn't want to be seen." "What do you mean?" Sarah hesitated. She didn't usually talk about this, but something about the late hour, the strange intimacy of shared grief, loosened her tongue. "I dropped out of college 5 years ago. I was studying to be a nurse, but tuition kept increasing and my scholarships weren't enough. I was working 3 jobs just to stay enrolled. Eventually, I had to choose, finish my degree or eat. So I left, started waitressing full-time, told myself it was temporary, but it wasn't. No, temporary became permanent, dreams became bills, and my mom, she never made me feel like I'd failed. She'd come to the diner where I worked and sit in my section and tip me $20 on a $7 check. She'd tell her friends I was taking a break from school, like it was this intentional, empowering choice. The food arrived. Steam rose from the eggs. Sarah hadn't realized how hungry she was until the plate appeared. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. "You could go back," Marcus said finally. "To school." "With what money?" "I could..." "No." Sarah's voice was firm. "We just met. You don't owe me anything." "I'm not offering because I owe you. I'm offering because..." He trailed off, searching for words. "Because you're the first person in years who's treated me like a human being instead of a bank account. And because I can. The money means nothing to me, Sarah. It never has. It means something to people who don't have it." "Exactly. So let me do something meaningful with it." Sarah set down her fork. "You don't even know me. I know you missed your flight to sit with a crying stranger. I know you're wearing a funeral dress and trying not to fall apart. I know you see people, really see them. That's more than I know about most people in my life. Marcus, just think about it, please. Before Sarah could respond, Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. I should take this. He stepped outside. Through the diner's window, Sarah watched him pace, his free hand running through his hair. The call lasted maybe 90 seconds. When he came back inside, he looked 10 years older. My mother, he said, sliding back into the booth. Apparently, Victoria's family is threatening a lawsuit. They paid for half the wedding. They want reimbursement for emotional damages and public humiliation. Can they do that? They can try. It won't go anywhere, but it'll be ugly and public. He laughed bitterly. God forbid the Winthrops have a scandal. Sarah reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. The gesture was becoming familiar now. What do you want to do? She asked. Disappear. Get on a plane and never come back. Would that help? Probably not. But it sounds nice. Then do it. He looked at her, startled. What? Disappear. For a little while. Not forever, just long enough to breathe, to figure out what you want instead of what everyone expects. I can't just leave. The company has a board of directors, right, and a COO, and probably 50 executives who can handle things for a week. Marcus stared at her like she'd suggested something radical, which for someone like him, she probably had. Where would I even go? He asked. Sarah thought for a moment. Then she smiled, a real smile, the first since her mother died. Chicago. Chicago. You bought a ticket. You said you didn't even know where it went. Was it Chicago? Yes, actually, I just clicked the first destination. Then go, come to Chicago, stay for a week. See what it's like to be no one, just Marcus, not Marcus Winthrop's CEO, not the guy who got left at the altar, just a person. That's insane. Maybe, but you're sitting in a diner at midnight eating eggs with a waitress you met 3 hours ago. I think insane might be exactly what you need. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Outside, a taxi drove past, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Would you... He stopped, then started again. Would you show me around? Chicago? Sarah's heart did something complicated in her chest. Why would you want me to? Because you're real. Because you don't want anything from me. Because when you look at me, you don't see dollar signs or opportunities or social currency. You just see someone who needed kindness. I'm a mess, Marcus. My life is falling apart. I can barely take care of myself. Then we'll be a mess together, just for a week. It was a terrible idea. Sarah knew that. You don't invite billionaires into your life. You don't let strangers get close. You don't make promises you can't keep. But grief does strange things to people, makes them brave or reckless or both. Okay, she heard herself say. 1 week. I'll show you Chicago. But no money, no fixing my life, no playing savior, just 2 people trying to figure out how to keep breathing. Marcus extended his hand across the table, formal, almost funny given everything they'd already shared. Deal. Sarah shook his hand. His grip was warm, steady. Neither of them mentioned what would happen after the week ended. Some truths are easier left unspoken. They landed in Chicago at 6:47 a.m. The city greeted them with gray skies and wind that cut through clothes like a blade. Sarah had forgotten her coat, left it somewhere between grief and impulse decisions. Marcus noticed immediately and draped his suit jacket over her shoulders without asking. It smelled like expensive cologne and rain. "I live in Pilsen," Sarah said, as they stood outside O'Hare watching taxis come and go. It's not what you're used to." "Good." She looked at him. He meant it. They took the Blue Line instead of a cab. Marcus had never been on the Chicago L before. He stood holding the pole, swaying with the train's rhythm, watching the city wake up through smudged windows. Construction workers, nurses ending night shifts, students with headphones and tired eyes. "Everyone looks exhausted," he observed. "Welcome to real life." Sarah's apartment was a fourth-floor walk-up, in a building that had seen better decades. The hallway smelled like someone's morning cooking, eggs and chorizo. A child's bicycle lay abandoned near the stairs. She unlocked 3 separate locks. "Sorry about the mess," she said, pushing the door open. The apartment was small, a studio, maybe 400 square feet, a pull-out couch that doubled as a bed, a kitchenette with 2 burners, a bathroom so tiny you could sit on the toilet and wash your hands in the sink simultaneously. But it was clean, organized. There were books stacked neatly on a makeshift shelf, a small plant in the window, somehow still alive. Photos on the wall, Sarah and her mother smiling in front of Navy Pier. Marcus stood in the center of the room, taking it all in. "It's perfect," he said quietly. "You're a terrible liar." "I'm serious. It feels lived in, real. My penthouse is 4,000 square feet and I use maybe 2 rooms. This feels like a home." Sarah dropped her bag on the couch. "You can't stay here. There's barely room for me." "I'll get a hotel." "No. If you're doing this being nobody for a week, you can't stay at the 4 Seasons. That defeats the purpose." She thought for a moment. "My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, rents out her spare room sometimes, for students mostly. It's basic, but it's clean. $50 a night." Sold. Mrs. Chen was a 72-year-old widow who answered her door in a floral robe and pink slippers. She looked Marcus up and down with sharp, assessing eyes. "You running from the law?" she asked. "No, ma'am." "Running from a woman?" Marcus hesitated. "Sort of." Mrs. Chen grunted. "Figures. Handsome ones always are." She opened the door wider. $50 a night. Cash only. No drugs, no loud music. Breakfast included if you don't mind dumplings. "I love dumplings." "Good. You start tomorrow. Today you look like you need sleep more than food." The room was exactly as advertised. Basic. A twin bed with a floral quilt, a desk, a window overlooking the alley, a crucifix on the wall. Marcus stood in the doorway, still wearing his wedding suit, and laughed. Not the broken sound from the airport. A real laugh. Light. Disbelieving. "What?" Sarah asked. 12 hours ago I was supposed to be getting married in a cathedral. Now I'm renting a room from a Chinese grandmother who thinks I'm a fugitive. Are you having regrets?" He looked at her. Really looked. "Not even a little." Sarah left him to settle in. Back in her own apartment, she stood in the shower until the water ran cold, washing away airplane air and funeral homes, and decisions she wasn't sure she understood. When she emerged, wrapped in her mother's old robe, her phone showed 17 missed calls. Her boss, her landlord, her Aunt Carol. She ignored them all. Instead, she made coffee and stood by the window watching the street below. A man walked his dog. 2 teenagers waited for the bus, sharing headphones. Life continuing, indifferent to loss. A knock at the door. Marcus stood in the hallway wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt. Sarah had never seen him in casual clothes. He looked younger, more uncertain. "Mrs. Chen lent me these," he said, gesturing at the outfit. "Apparently they belonged to her late husband. She said my suit made me look like I was going to a funeral." Fair assessment. So, he shoved his hands in his pockets. "Show me Chicago?" They started in Pilsen because Sarah wanted him to see her world first. The murals on 16th Street, stories of migration and resilience painted on brick walls. The panaderia, where she bought conchas every Sunday. The community center where her mother had volunteered every Thursday. Marcus walked slowly, taking everything in. He stopped to read every mural, asked questions, listened without interrupting. At the panaderia, Sarah ordered in Spanish. The woman behind the counter, Senora Vasquez, smiled when she saw her. "Mija, I heard about your mother. I'm so sorry." Sarah's throat tightened. "Thank you." She was special, always asking about my grandson, remembering everyone's names. Senora Vasquez packed extra pastries into the bag. "No charge today for you and your friend." Outside, Marcus bit into a concha and closed his eyes. "This is incredible. Better than whatever private chef you have? So much better." They walked to the National Museum of Mexican Art. Admission was free. Marcus stood in front of a painting of La Virgen de Guadalupe for 10 minutes, saying nothing. "What are you thinking?" Sarah finally asked. "That I've been to the Louvre 5 times and never felt anything. And this," he gestured at the painting, "this makes me want to cry and I don't even know why. Maybe because it means something to people. It's not just expensive, it's necessary." They had lunch at a taco stand, $1.50 per taco. Marcus insisted on paying and handed over a 20 like it was nothing. The vendor looked at Sarah with raised eyebrows. "He's not from here," she explained. "No kidding." That afternoon, they took the Pink Line to Millennium Park, tourist territory, but Sarah wanted him to see the Bean. They arrived at golden hour, that magic time when the sun turns everything soft. The sculpture reflected the skyline, the clouds, the hundreds of people taking selfies. Marcus stood underneath, looking up at their distorted reflections. "I proposed to Victoria here," he said suddenly. Sarah's stomach dropped. "Oh, we can leave." "No, I want to stay." He turned to her. "I proposed here because my publicist said it would photograph well, not because it meant anything, not because Victoria loved it, because it would look good in Town and Country magazine." "Did it?" "Made the cover." They sat on a bench nearby watching people, families, couples, solo travelers taking elaborate photos. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Sure." "Why are you doing this, really? You could have walked away at the airport. You could have taken the money I offered and never seen me again. Why are you here?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. The honest answer felt too vulnerable, but she'd asked him for honesty. Fair was fair. "Because I'm tired of being alone," she finally said. "My mum was the only person who really knew me, and now she's gone and I feel like I'm disappearing, like if no one sees me, maybe I don't exist." She looked at him. "And you saw me at the airport. Not because you had to. Not because I asked. You just did." Marcus's hand found hers on the bench between them. "I see you," he said softly. Sarah Hayes, who stops for crying strangers, who speaks Spanish to grandmothers in bakeries, who knows exactly where the light hits the Bean at sunset. "I see you." Something shifted in her chest, a tectonic plate moving, making room for something new and terrifying. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Probably. In a week, you'll go back to New York, to your company and your life and your world. And I'll still be here waitressing and trying to pay rent. I know. So why does this feel like it matters? Marcus turned to face her fully. His eyes were the color of whiskey in sunlight. Because maybe it does. Maybe some things matter precisely because they're temporary, because they're impossible. That's a sad way to live. Or a brave one. The sun slipped lower. Shadows stretched across the park. Around them, people started to leave, heading to dinners, to hotels, to lives that made sense. Sarah and Marcus stayed, two people suspended in a moment that couldn't last, knowing it couldn't last, holding on anyway. Tell me something true, Marcus said. Something you've never told anyone. Sarah thought about lying, about keeping herself safe. But safety felt less important than this, whatever this was. I'm afraid I'll never be more than this, she said. That I'll waitress until I'm 60, that I'll die in this city having never done anything that mattered, that my mother believed in someone who didn't exist. You matter, Sarah. You don't know that. I do. Because you mattered to that man in the airport who wanted to disappear. You gave him a reason to stay. Her eyes burned. She blinked hard. Your turn. Tell me something true. Marcus was quiet. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. I'm afraid that if I go back, I'll forget this. I'll forget what it feels like to be seen, and I'll become exactly who my father was, successful and miserable and alone. Then don't go back. It's not that simple. Why not? Because I have responsibilities. Because 40,000 people depend on my decisions. Because walking away would be selfish. And staying in a life that's killing you isn't? Marcus didn't have an answer for that. They sat as the park lights flickered on, as the city transformed from day to night, as the impossible became, briefly, possible. The week unfolded like a dream neither of them wanted to wake from. Marcus got a job. Sarah laughed when he told her. They were having coffee at her kitchen table, the third morning of his stay, when he announced it casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You what? Got a job. At the bookstore on 18th Street. The owner was putting up a help wanted sign and I just asked. You're a billionaire. Here, I'm just Marcus, remember, that was the deal. The bookstore was called Page Turner. It was cramped and dusty, with towers of books stacked on every surface and a cat named Fitzgerald who slept on the register. The owner, David, was a retired English professor who paid Marcus $12 an hour and didn't ask questions. They fell into a pattern. Marcus worked mornings at the bookstore. Sarah worked lunch and dinner shifts. They met in between, stolen hours that felt like borrowed time. He learned the city through her eyes, the best deep dish pizza at Lou Malnati's, the jazz clubs in Bronzeville, the quiet bench by the Chicago River where she used to meet her mother after bad days. She'd bring hot chocolate, Sarah told him one evening as they sat on that bench, even in summer, said comfort shouldn't be seasonal. Marcus smiled. She sounds like she understood what mattered. She did, more than I gave her credit for. On the 5th day, Marcus's phone rang during his lunch break. Sarah was meeting him at the bookstore. She arrived to find him outside, pacing, his voice tight. Mother, I told you, no, I'm not coming back yet. That's not... He stopped walking, his jaw clenched. She said what? Sarah stayed by the door, not wanting to interrupt. Tell Victoria I have nothing to say to her. The wedding is off. If she wants to spin that for the press, that's her choice. His voice was colder now, the CEO bleeding through. I don't care about the optics. He hung up without saying goodbye. When he turned, he saw Sarah watching. His expression softened immediately. Sorry, that was your life, calling you back. It's not my life anymore. Marcus, it's not. He walked toward her. That life, the galas and the board meetings, that's not living. This is living, here, with you. For 5 more days. Then let's not waste them. That night, he took her somewhere she'd never been. The Art Institute, after hours. How did you... I called in a favor. One of the board members is a donor here. He saw her expression. I know I said no money, no favors, but this isn't for me, it's for you. The museum was empty. Their footsteps echoed on marble floors. Marcus led her through galleries she'd only seen in photos, past Monet's haystacks and Hopper's lonely diners. He stopped in front of Nighthawk's. My mother used to take me here, Sarah said quietly. When I was little, this was her favorite painting. Why? She said it reminded her that everyone's lonely sometimes, even in cities, even surrounded by people, and that made her feel less alone. Sarah stepped closer to the painting. The people in the diner, they're together but separate, close but unreachable. What do you understand about it now? That loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about not being seen. Marcus stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. I see you, Sarah. For 2 more days. Stop counting. How can I not? This ends. You know it ends. It doesn't have to. She turned to face him. What are you saying? Come back with me to New York. I'll help you finish school. You can... No. Sarah. No, Marcus. That's not real. You sweeping in and fixing my life, that's not love, that's rescue, that's charity. It's not charity to care about someone. It is when there's a power imbalance this big. Her voice cracked. If I take your money, if I let you solve all my problems, then I'm just another person who wants something from you. I become Victoria with a different face. You could never be her. Maybe not, but I won't find out like this. They stood in front of Nighthawk's, 2 people as separate as the figures in the painting. Then what do you want? Marcus asked. I want this to be real, not a fantasy, not an escape. Real. It is real. No, it's a week. It's a beautiful, impossible week. But it's not a life. Marcus's hand found hers. It could be. Sarah wanted to believe him, but fairy tales didn't happen to waitresses from Pilsen. Billionaires didn't fall for broke girls in studio apartments. You'll go back, she whispered, and you'll remember this as the time you played at being normal. And I'll remember it as the time I let myself believe in something that couldn't exist. Sarah, I think you should go. Back to Mrs. Chen's. I need to be alone. Hurt flashed across his face, but he nodded. Okay, but this conversation isn't over. He left her standing in front of the painting, alone in a museum of beautiful, unreachable things. The next morning she woke to pounding on her door, aggressive, insistent. She opened it to find her landlord, a man named Rick with a perpetual scowl. Rent's late, he said. I know. I get paid Friday. I'll have it then. That's what you said last month. I'm not running a charity, Sarah. Friday. I promise. Rick looked past her into the apartment. You got someone staying here? No, I'm alone. Friday, he repeated, or I start eviction proceedings. He left. The door slammed. Sarah leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Rent was $950. She had $320 in her account. Her paycheck Friday would be maybe $480. Even with tips, she'd be short. She could ask Marcus. He'd give her the money without thinking twice, and she'd hate herself for it. After work that night, a double shift that left her exhausted, she found Marcus waiting outside her building. He stood under the streetlight, alone, waiting. "Hi," he said. "Hi. Can we talk?" Sarah wanted to say no, but she was so tired, and he was there. "Okay." They walked to the park, sat on swings that creaked with rust. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, "for pushing, for trying to fix things. You were right. My landlord came today, threatened eviction. So I am short on rent and I have 2 days to figure it out. I know you can, but I can't let you." "Why not?" "Because then what? You pay my rent this month and next month, and suddenly I'm dependent on you. And what happens when you get tired of the project? When you realize I'm not some noble poor person worth saving, I'm just someone who made bad choices and got unlucky. That's not how I see you. It's how you'll see me eventually." Marcus stopped swinging. "You think so little of me?" "I think so little of myself." The truth hung between them like fog. "Sarah, I'm broken, Marcus. My mom died. I'm about to lose my apartment. I'm 27 years old, and I have nothing. No degree, no career, no future. And you're this person who could have anything. Anyone. Why would you choose this?" "Because this is the first real thing I've felt in years. Real doesn't pay rent. Neither does pride." They sat in silence. Two people on swings going nowhere. Finally Marcus spoke. "Let me help. Not because I think you need rescuing, because I want to, because friends help each other." Sarah's eyes burned. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because if I start needing you, I won't be able to stop." "Would that be so terrible?" "Yes, because you're leaving. In 2 days you go back to New York, to your real life, and I'll still be here. Only now, I'll know what I'm missing." Marcus stood, walked over to her swing, knelt in front of her so they were eye level. "Then come with me. Marcus, not as my charity case, not as some project, as whatever this is. We figure it out together." Sarah looked at him, at his eyes that had been broken in an airport and had somehow started healing, at his hands that had held hers through grief. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too. What if it doesn't work? What if it does?" Sarah didn't sleep that night. She lay on her pull-out couch staring at the ceiling, replaying Marcus's question over and over. What if it does? What if it worked? What if she went to New York and didn't lose herself? What if loving someone didn't mean disappearing? But what if it didn't? What if she became another cautionary tale, the girl who believed in fairy tales and ended up with nothing? At 3 a.m. she gave up on sleep, made coffee, sat by the window watching the street. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "Can't sleep either. Meet me?" She should have said no, should have protected herself, but her fingers were already typing. "Where?" "Our bench. 20 minutes. The river was quiet at this hour, empty. Just the two of them and the city lights reflected on dark water. Marcus was already there when she arrived. He'd brought 2 cups of coffee from the 24-hour diner. Still remembered she took hers black with 1 sugar. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They sat, drank coffee, watched the water move. "I've been thinking," Marcus finally said, "about what you said, about power imbalances and rescue and all of it. You're right. Sarah looked at him, surprised. If I swoop in and pay for everything, fix everything, I'm not loving you. I'm collecting you, like another acquisition. He turned to face her. So here's what I'm thinking. What if we start over? What do you mean? What if I don't go back to New York? Not yet. What if I stay here? Keep working at the bookstore. Rent Mrs. Chen's room. Live like a normal person. For how long? I don't know, a month, 2 months. However long it takes to figure out if this is real without all the money complicating it. Sarah's heart did something complicated. You'd do that? The company can survive without me. They've been trying to get me to take a sabbatical for years. My mother will be furious, but... He smiled slightly. Maybe that's not the worst thing. Marcus, you can't just walk away from your life. Why not? You asked me what I want. This is what I want, time to see if we work when it's not fantasy, when it's just life. What about your responsibilities? I'll delegate, check in remotely, but I won't go back, not until we know. Sarah wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to. But doubt crept in like fog. And if it doesn't work? If we try this and it falls apart? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering. The city was waking up. Early joggers, delivery trucks, the L train rumbling in the distance. Okay, Sarah whispered. Okay? Okay. Stay. Let's try. Marcus smiled, real and unguarded. He pulled her close. She let him. They sat like that as the sun rose, two people choosing the uncertain over the safe, choosing each other over logic. The next 2 weeks were ordinary and extraordinary. Marcus kept working at the bookstore. David gave him more hours, teaching him to repair broken bindings and recommend books to customers. Marcus discovered he was good at it, talking to people without pretense, without the weight of his name. Sarah picked up extra shifts but stopped running from her apartment. They had dinner together most nights. Nothing fancy. Pasta. Takeout. Once Marcus tried to cook and nearly set off the smoke alarm. Mrs. Chen adopted them both. She'd knock on Sarah's door with dumplings, lecture Marcus about eating enough vegetables, ask intrusive questions about when they were getting married. We're not even dating, Sarah protested once. Mrs. Chen snorted. You think I'm blind? That boy looks at you like you're the sun. It was true. Sarah felt it. The way Marcus watched her when she wasn't looking. The way his hand found hers without thinking. The way he laughed at her terrible jokes. But neither of them said the words out loud. Love felt too big, too risky, like naming it might break the spell. 3 weeks in, reality caught up. Sarah was working the evening shift when her boss, Tony, called her into his office. He looked uncomfortable. Sarah, I gotta let you go. Her stomach dropped. What? Why? New owner bought the building, raising the rent. I can't afford to keep everyone. I'm sorry, kid, you're good, but you're also the newest. Tony, please, I need this job. I can't. I know, I'm sorry. I'll give you 2 weeks severance. It's all I can do. Sarah walked home in a daze. 2 weeks severance was maybe $600. Rent was due in 5 days. She'd already burned through her savings. The math was simple and brutal. She was going to lose her apartment. Marcus was waiting on her stoop when she got home. He took one look at her face and stood. What happened? I got fired. What? She told him everything. The words came out flat, defeated. Marcus's jaw tightened. Let me help, please. This is exactly... No. Sarah. I said no. Her voice was sharper than she intended. This is what I was afraid of. The second things get hard, you want to solve it with money. That's not fair, isn't it? You can't just throw money at problems and make them disappear, Marcus. That's not how real relationships work. I'm not trying to make it disappear. I'm trying to help the person I... He stopped, took a breath. The person I care about. By making me dependent on you? By being there when you need me. I don't need you. The words came out harsher than she meant. She saw them land, saw the hurt flash across his face. Right, he said quietly. Of course not. He turned to leave. Marcus, wait. No, you're right. You don't need me. You've made that very clear. He looked back at her. But maybe I need you. Did you ever think about that? Maybe I need to help. Maybe that's how I show I care. That's not love. That's control. And pushing everyone away isn't strength, Sarah. It's fear. He left. Sarah stood on the stoop, shaking. She wanted to run after him, wanted to take it back, but pride kept her feet planted. She went inside, sat on her couch, stared at the eviction notice on her coffee table. 3 days. She had 3 days to come up with $950 or she'd be homeless. Her phone rang. Her Aunt Carol. Sarah, honey, I heard about your mom's house. The estate finally settled. There's some money, not much, but it's yours. About $3,000 after debts. Sarah closed her eyes. When? Check should arrive next week. Next week. Too late for rent. But enough to start over somewhere cheaper. Enough to breathe. Thank you, Carol. Of course, sweetheart. Are you okay? You sound... I'm fine. Just tired. She hung up. Sat in the dark. Thought about Marcus's question from weeks ago. What if it does work? But also, what if trying meant losing herself? What if love required sacrifice she wasn't ready to make? The next morning, she went to the bookstore. Marcus was shelving books in the poetry section. He looked up when she entered. His expression was guarded. Hi, she said. Hi. Can we talk? He set down the books, followed her outside. They stood on the sidewalk. People passed. Life continued around them. I'm sorry, Sarah said, for what I said. You were right. I pushed people away because I'm scared. Scared of what? Of needing someone, of giving them power to hurt me. She looked at him. My dad left when I was 6. My mom died owing $40,000 in medical bills. Everyone I've ever needed has either left or been taken away, so I learned not to need anyone. Marcus's expression softened. But you, Sarah continued, you make me want to try, and that terrifies me. Sarah, I lost my job. I'm losing my apartment. My life is falling apart. And the only thing I want is you. That's not supposed to happen. I'm supposed to be strong and independent and fine on my own. You are strong. Asking for help doesn't change that. It feels like it does. Marcus stepped closer. What if we're both scared? What if I'm terrified that you'll wake up one day and realize I'm just a broken rich guy who doesn't know how to be a real person? What if I need you more than you need me? That's not possible. Why not? Because you're you. I'm a guy who got left at his own wedding, who spent his whole life performing for other people, who didn't know what real felt like until a stranger hugged him in an airport. His voice cracked slightly. You saved me, Sarah. Not with money or status, just by seeing me. Sarah's eyes burned. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. What if we fail? What if we don't? There was that question again. The impossible, terrifying, beautiful question. Sarah took a breath, made a choice. I need help, she said. The words felt like pulling glass from a wound. I'm going to lose my apartment. I have money coming next week, but it's too late. I need somewhere to stay, just for a few days. Marcus didn't hesitate. Stay with me at Mrs. Chen's. She has a couch. We'll figure it out. I can pay you back. When the check comes, I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to let me be there for you, not as a savior, as a friend, as whatever we are. What are we? Marcus smiled. Soft. Real. I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Sarah nodded, felt something loosen in her chest, something that had been clenched tight for years. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Sarah moved into Mrs. Chen's apartment on a Tuesday. She didn't have much. 2 suitcases of clothes, a box of books, photos of her mother in frames she'd wrapped in newspaper. Marcus helped her carry everything up the stairs. Mrs. Chen watched from her doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You two finally stopped being stupid? She asked. Sarah blushed. I know what you are. I also know what you could be. Mrs. Chen pointed at Marcus. You, take the bedroom. Sarah gets the couch. Mrs. Chen, I can't take your room. Not my room. His room. You take his room. He takes couch. That's not... I'm 72 years old. You think I don't know how this works? Girl needs privacy. Boy needs to learn patience. She shuffled back inside. Come, I'll make tea. They sat in Mrs. Chen's kitchen, a tiny space that smelled like ginger and star anise. She poured tea into mismatched cups. My husband died 15 years ago, she said, unprompted. We were married 48 years. You know what I learned? Sarah shook her head. Love isn't the big moments. It's not proposals or weddings or grand gestures. It's small things. Making tea when someone's sad. Staying when it's easier to leave. Choosing each other when the world says you shouldn't. She looked at Marcus. You come from money. She doesn't. You think that matters? I don't. It matters, but only if you let it. She turned to Sarah. You're proud. I see it. Pride keeps you safe, but it also keeps you alone. Sarah's throat tightened. You want my advice? Stop fighting it. Stop pretending you don't need each other. Life's too short for that kind of stupid. Mrs. Chen stood, signaling the conversation was over. Now go, unpack, have dinner, be young and foolish while you still can. That night, Sarah lay in Marcus's bed, the twin bed with the floral quilt, and stared at the ceiling. She could hear him on the couch in the living room, shifting. Probably uncomfortable. She should have felt guilty. Instead, she felt safe. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, even though he was 20 feet away. You awake? Yeah. This is weird, right? Very weird. Good weird. Sarah smiled in the darkness. Good weird. The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. Sarah found a job at a coffee shop near the bookstore. The pay was worse, but the owner was kind and didn't ask questions. Marcus continued working at Page Turner. They'd meet for lunch, sandwiches from the corner deli eaten on a bench outside. They were careful around each other. Polite, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. Mrs. Chen noticed. Of course she noticed. You two are idiots, she announced one evening over dumplings. Excuse me, Marcus said. You like each other. She likes you. Why do you pretend? We're not pretending. You sleep in separate rooms. You don't hold hands. You act like friends when you're clearly more. She pointed her chopsticks at Sarah. You're afraid he'll leave like your father. Sarah flinched. Mrs. Chen turned to Marcus. And you're afraid she only wants your money, like that other woman. How did you? I watched the news. I'm old, not stupid. She set down her chopsticks. You want to know what kills love? Not fighting, not problems. Fear. You're both so scared of getting hurt that you're choosing slow death over possible life. She stood, clearing plates. Figure it out. Or don't. But stop wasting time. After she left, Sarah and Marcus sat in heavy silence. She's not wrong, Marcus finally said. No, she's not. I am scared of messing this up, of you waking up one day and realizing you could do better. Better than a billionaire CEO? Better than a guy who doesn't know who he is without the money. Sarah reached across the table, took his hand. I know who you are. You're the person who stocks books and helps elderly customers reach the top shelf. Who listens to Mrs. Chen's stories and eats her dumplings even when you're full. Who stayed in Chicago when you could have gone home. You make me sound better than I am. I make you sound like who you actually are. Marcus's fingers tightened around hers. I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the air, simple, terrifying, true. I know, Sarah whispered. I'm falling in love with you too. What do we do about it? I don't know, but maybe Mrs. Chen's right. Maybe we stop being scared. That night, Marcus didn't sleep on the couch. They lay in the twin bed together, barely enough room for two people, talking in the darkness. About childhoods and dreams and all the small things that make up a life. Tell me something you've never told anyone, Sarah said. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I wanted to be a teacher. When I was in college before my father died, I was going to get my PhD in literature, teach at some small liberal arts school, read books and have conversations that mattered. Why didn't you? Because my father had a heart attack the week before graduation, and suddenly I had a company to run. 40,000 employees depending on me. I couldn't just walk away. Do you regret it? I regret that I never chose, that the choice was made for me. He turned to face her in the darkness. But if I'd become a teacher, I wouldn't have been at that airport, wouldn't have met you. So maybe everything happens for a reason. You don't really believe that? No, but I want to. Sarah traced invisible patterns on his arm. I wanted to be a nurse. I'd visualized myself in scrubs, helping people, making them feel safe. You still could? Maybe. With my mom's money, I could go back, finish the degree. She paused. But that means leaving Chicago. The nursing program I was in transferred to Arizona. Marcus went still. When? Program starts in January, 2 months. Were you going to tell me? I just found out, and I didn't know if... She trailed off. If what? If this was real enough to factor into that decision. Marcus sat up. The bed creaked. Sarah, this is the most real thing in my life. But for how long? You said yourself, you don't know who you are without the company. Eventually you'll have to go back. And then what? Long distance? Visits every few months? That's not a life. So come to New York. And give up nursing school, give up my dream? No, there are nursing schools in New York, better ones. I could... There it is. Sarah sat up too. You could. You could pay for it. You could make it easy. You could solve all my problems. Why is that so wrong? Because I need to do this myself, don't you see? If you pay for everything, if you pave every road, then I never know if I actually earned it. I'm just Marcus Winthrop's project. That's not how I see you. but it's how I'll see myself. They sat in the darkness, two people who loved each other, unable to bridge the gap between their worlds. "So what do we do?" Marcus asked. Sarah's eyes burned. "I don't know. Arizona's far." "I know. We'd barely see each other." "I know. Would you—" He stopped, started again. "Would you give up nursing school if I asked?" Sarah's chest tightened. "Would you ask me to?" "No, I couldn't. Your dreams matter." "So do yours. You could go back to New York. Run your company. We could end this now while it's still good." The words hurt, but they were honest. "Maybe that's kinder," Sarah whispered. "Maybe we stop before we start resenting each other, before I become another obligation, before you become another person who left." "I don't want that. Neither do I. But wanting isn't enough." Marcus pulled her close. She let him. They lay together in that too small bed, holding on to something they both knew they were losing. 2 months, Marcus said. 2 months. Then let's not waste them. So they didn't. They spent November pretending December wasn't coming, working their jobs, having dinners with Mrs. Chen, walking through the city as it grew colder. They didn't talk about the future, didn't make plans, just existed in the present, fragile and precious and finite. On Thanksgiving, Mrs. Chen made them help cook. Marcus chopped vegetables. Sarah rolled dumplings. They ate around a small table, 3 people who'd found each other by accident. "You two are still idiots," Mrs. Chen said, passing the rice, "but you're my idiots." After dinner, Marcus and Sarah walked along the lake. The wind was brutal. Sarah's cheeks turned pink. "I love you," Marcus said suddenly. Sarah stopped walking. "Marcus, I know we're ending. I know you're leaving. But I need you to know I love you. Not who you could be or who I want you to be. I love exactly who you are." Tears froze on Sarah's cheeks. "I love you too." They kissed, cold and desperate and sad, because loving someone isn't always enough. Sometimes the world gets in the way. December arrived like an unwelcome guest. Sarah's acceptance letter to the nursing program came on a Monday. She stared at the envelope for an hour before opening it. Marcus found her sitting on the floor of his room, the letter in her hands. "Congratulations," he said softly. "Yeah." "You don't sound happy." "I am. I just—" She looked up at him. "I wish I could have both." "Me too." The days grew shorter, colder. They moved around each other carefully, like people trying not to wake someone sleeping. 2 weeks before Sarah's departure, Marcus's phone rang during breakfast. His mother. He stepped outside to take it. When he came back, his face was pale. "There's a problem at the company, a major one, hostile takeover attempt. The board needs me back." Sarah's stomach dropped. "When?" "Tomorrow. I have to fly out tonight." "Oh." They stared at each other across Mrs. Chen's kitchen table. "Come with me," Marcus said. "Just for a few days. See New York. See my world. Maybe what? Maybe we find a way to make this work." Sarah wanted to say yes, but reality pressed down like a weight. "I have a shift, and packing, and excuses. Practical reasons. Sarah, please. I'm not ready to say goodbye." "Neither am I. But going to New York won't change anything." "You'll still be a CEO. I'll still be leaving for Arizona. We're just delaying the inevitable." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So that's it? We just end?" What else can we do? Fight for it. Choose each other over everything else. That's easy for you to say. You're not the one giving up your dream. Neither are you. I'm asking you to come for 3 days. Not forever. Sarah stood. I can't. I'm sorry. She left before he could respond. Spent her shift at the coffee shop wiping down tables and trying not to cry. When she got home that evening, Marcus was gone. Mrs. Chen met her at the door. He left an hour ago. Taxi to the airport. She handed Sarah an envelope. He asked me to give you this. Sarah's hands shook as she opened it. Sarah, I understand why you said no. I even respect it. But I need you to know something. These months with you have been the only time I've felt like myself. Not the CEO, not the Winthrop heir. Just Marcus, the guy who likes poetry and used books and quiet mornings. You gave me that. You saw me when no one else did. I'm going back to New York because I have to, because people depend on me. But I'm not giving up on us. I don't care about the distance or the logistics or how impossible it seems. I love you. That's not going to change because of geography. If you feel the same way, if any part of you thinks we're worth fighting for, meet me. New Year's Eve, the airport, LaGuardia, Gate 47. Where we started, I'll wait for you, even if you don't come. Marcus Sarah read it 3 times, folded it carefully, put it in her pocket. Mrs. Chen watched her with knowing eyes. You're going to let him go, aren't you? It's complicated. Love is always complicated. That's not an excuse. I have school, he has his company. We live in different worlds. So? My husband was Chinese. I'm Vietnamese. When we met, our families nearly disowned us. Different languages, different cultures. Different everything. Mrs. Chen sat down heavily. But we chose each other every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. That's different. How? Sarah didn't have an answer. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Sarah finished her shifts, packed her apartment, said goodbye to people who'd become family. On her last day, she stopped by the bookstore. David was behind the counter, Fitzgerald asleep beside him. Heard you're leaving, he said. Yeah, nursing school. Marcus told me. He was proud of you, talked about it constantly. David smiled. He's in love with you, you know. I know. You love him? Yes. Then why are you here and he's in New York? Because love isn't enough. We have different lives, different paths. David pulled a book from under the counter. Poetry, Pablo Neruda. Read page 47, then tell me love isn't enough. Sarah opened the book, found the poem, read the words that felt like they'd been written for her. I love you without knowing how or when or from where. I love you simply without problems or pride. I love you in this way because I do not know any other way of loving but this. Her eyes burned. Sometimes, David said gently, the path changes when you meet the right person. Sometimes love is enough if you let it be. Sarah left the bookstore with the book in her hands and doubt in her heart. New Year's Eve arrived. Sarah was packed. Her flight to Arizona left tomorrow morning. Everything was arranged. Her new life was waiting. But she couldn't stop thinking about Marcus's letter, about Gate 47, about the man who'd seen her when she felt invisible. At 8 p.m., she made a decision. She grabbed her coat, called a cab, told the driver to take her to O'Hare. The airport was chaos, families traveling, people celebrating. Sarah pushed through crowds, her heart pounding. She found gate 47 at 10:30 p.m. The area was nearly empty. A few delayed passengers sleeping in chairs, but no Marcus. Sarah's chest tightened. Had she misunderstood? Was she too late? She sat down, checked her phone. Nothing. Minutes passed like hours. At 11:45, she stood to leave. It had been stupid to come, stupid to hope. Sarah. She turned. Marcus stood 20 feet away. He wore jeans and a coat. His hair was messy. His eyes were red like he hadn't slept in days. "You came," he breathed. "You're here. I told you I'd wait." They crossed the distance between them, met in the middle. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, "for pushing you away, for being so scared. I'm sorry too for trying to fix everything, for not understanding. I don't know how to make this work. Neither do I, but I know I can't do this without you." Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. "I applied to volunteer at a literacy program in Phoenix, near your school. They need people to teach reading. It's part-time, but it's something I care about, something I choose." Sarah's breath caught. "Marcus, I'm not abandoning my company. I'm restructuring, promoting my COO to partner, stepping back from day-to-day operations. It's time. I've been running from what I actually want for too long. You can't upend your life for me. I'm not. I'm upending it for me. You just gave me the courage to do it." He took her hands. "We'll figure it out. Long weekends, video calls, visits, whatever it takes. Because you're not a complication, Sarah. You're the point." Tears streamed down her face. "What if it's too hard? Then it's too hard. But at least we tried. At least we didn't walk away from something real because we were scared." Around them, people counted down to midnight. 10, 9, 8. "I love you," Sarah whispered. "I love you too." 7, 6, 5. "This is crazy." Completely. 4, 3, 2. They kissed as the airport erupted in cheers, as a new year began, as two broken people chose hope over fear. 1. 6 months later, Sarah stood in scrubs for the first time. Her nursing school clinical rotation. Her name tag read, "Sarah Hayes, student nurse." Her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "How's the first day?" "Terrifying. Amazing. Proud of you. Miss you. 3 days until I fly in. I miss you too. It wasn't perfect. The distance was hard. The schedules were brutal. Some days she wondered if they were crazy for trying. But then Marcus would show up at her apartment with takeout, or she'd fly to New York for a weekend. Or they'd fall asleep on video calls, just needing to see each other's faces. They were building something, not a fairy tale, something real. At graduation, Marcus sat in the audience beside Mrs. Chen, who'd flown out for the occasion. When Sarah's name was called, they stood and cheered louder than anyone. That night, Marcus took her to the same bench where she used to meet her mother. "I have something for you," he said. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a job offer. Phoenix Children's Hospital, pediatric ward. "How did you—" "I know someone on the board. I told them about you. They were impressed. But this is on you, Sarah. You earned it." She looked at the offer, then at him. "Move in with me," he said. "In Phoenix. I found a place. Nothing fancy, just home." "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Sarah thought about the girl she'd been in that airport. Lost, grieving, alone. She thought about the man who'd been broken that same night. And she thought about everything they'd built together. Not despite the obstacles, because of them. "Yes," she said, "let's build a life." They sat on that bench as the city moved around them. Two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely place, who'd chosen love when it would have been easier to walk away. Some riches can't be bought, they're earned by the heart. If this story touched you, like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of love and redemption. And remember, the best love stories aren't the easiest ones. They're the ones worth fighting for.